Welcome, everybody, to the Rytown Park Commission meeting of July 17th, 2018. Please join us. Frank Ferrara, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
My pleasure, sir.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Debbie, and I'll note at the outset that Mayor Rosenberg of Rybrook is away on business, and that Frank Ferrara is substituting for Mayor Falanca of Portchester, who had recent surgery, and we will wish him well. He's doing very well, from what I understand. And with that, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hurd?
Here.
Commissioner Cone?
Here.
Acting Commissioner Ferrera?
Here.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Absolutely.
Commissioner Salamito?
Here.
President Zuckerman?
Here. Adoption of minutes, the minutes of June 18th, 2018. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved, June 19th.
June 19th.
So
I didn't
moved.
say that?
Yeah, you said 18.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at 2018, yes.
I'll
A
offer
second.
you a second.
Thank you. Are there any objections or corrections? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Public comment on non-agenda items. Does any member of the public wish to speak on items that are not currently before the commission? Somebody jumped up even before I finished. Good evening.
Hello. Jamie Jensen, 588 Forest Avenue. First, I wanted to acknowledge Lawrence and Sal living across from the park and being in the park almost every morning at 6 a.m. It's been really nice to see the crew out there really early, getting the garbage up. That's always been an issue. People still complain because they can't take their dogs off the leash, but it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and pretty much by the time I leave at 7:45, it's looking damn good. So, oops, I swore on TV. So thank you, Lawrence and Sal and your staff. There is a question out there about the North Beach Gate and concessions, so I don't have answers for people, so I'm just curious, so that's one question. What's the status on the various gates? There's also rumbling about the fence coming down, which I think is an absolutely terrific thing, but I really want to make sure we communicate that well, particularly to people that have dogs. So anything you can give us updates on that would be terrific. Folks were suggesting that perhaps you should put more garbage cans out on the busy weekends. I don't actually think that might be I don't know if it's a solution. The problem is when you come in the morning, there's no space left in the garbage. It's particularly on Friday night after fireworks. And finally, I saw in the minutes that the sidewalks were repaired, but in fact, it's just kind of pothole filled with black tarmac, and so I'm wondering if we actually have plans to do that properly. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Do we have any answers to anything? Do we want to?
I was deferring. Okay, in order. The plan for the north gate is that trenching starts on Monday. It is to last for 5 days, and which suggests, we've been told that by Friday, the project should be finished.
Friday, a week from this Friday.
Correct.
And then the north gate will be open for
Correct.
Okay.
Jamie, you're referring.
As the park director sees.
So trenching and laying the cable, whatever infrastructure you need, and actually connectivity and everything, and we plan to be open by this weekend? By the following weekend?
The trenching project starts Monday, it ends Friday, and by that point, they should be connected. So whether they actually manage to connect the wire to the box, that's the plan, but I can't,
Excuse me, Jamie there are two questions. One is the connectivity, which you just mentioned. The other is the concession. Right? Okay.
That's not the concession answer, that's the trenching answer and getting the north loop open. With regard to the concession, I think the restaurant may have some things to say about that. I believe it's their plan to request that they be able to move the food truck to the north and not renovate the north concession this season. Okay, other questions? Rumbling about the fence coming down. Yes, that is something that we've been working on. Should I be pushing?
Hello? You have to talk into the mic. Okay.
And I have to press the button when I talk into the mic. Sorry.
Oh, he's gone.
Okay. He'll let me know. Okay, the pond. I may toss that topic over to Lawrence. Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody. So we spoke with the Friends of Rye, heard their concerns about the pond.
Into the microphone also, Lawrence.
Microphone, there we go. The main concern right now for me was that we have this temporary fence that became a permanent structure, and it doesn't look that great. I know a lot of people are talking about worried that children, dogs can go into the pond, but if anybody's familiar with the fence isn't stopping them. Half of the north side of the fence is just a 2-foot stone wall on the northeast and northwest sides. Any small child, any dog, even a little chihuahua can hop that fence as it currently exists. The permanent fence that we do have is about the height of my waist. Once again, anybody can hop it over if they want to. That fence, the temporary fence we have, isn't stopping people from going into that water, when it's frozen in the winter. We have one sign currently in the pond, which is on the west side, which you would only see when they cut down the Phragmites. And it's actually hiding behind a bush that says no swimming, no dogs. So I'm pretty sure people are probably going in that pond now when it's frozen, hopping the fence and stepping over that stone wall. And the one thing that kind of confuses me about this whole pond issue is that we have a beach a few hundred yards to the east that we keep open all year long even when it's not staffed. So if people are worried about dogs and children going into a pond, why aren't the same concerns about the sound and the beach? Nobody voices complains about that. They prefer it to be open. So we brought signs that say no dogs allowed, no swimming, no fishing, stay away. That would be placed all around the pond. The temporary fence would be removed, and we would store it. If things aren't going well and there's a lot of issues, we could put it back in the day. We also talked about putting it back when the staff leaves so that there are no issues in the winter. One thing I would like to do is put a ladder, because like I said, I'm fairly certain there are people going into that pond when it's frozen. We would put a safety ladder in the line, which is typical in a lot of ponds. So if any child or young person went into that pond, even if there was a fence there and the ice broke, they at least have some sort of way to rescue them. So those are my issues. It's $18,000 fix in capital budget that we can save money on, and it's not necessarily something that we should have in the park, a temporary structure that became permanent. It doesn't look good. I don't think there's any safety issues for taking it down, and we'll put it back up if I'm wrong. So I hope to answer any questions about the pond. I know.
needed to ask the question.
No, but the public doesn't mention the beach, and they want the beach open, but that's probably a bigger threat. Than
What is an $18,000 fix? You mentioned.
That's what the capital budget was.
When
on the wish list. That's
A wrought iron fence around the pond.
Actually, we priced out, the wrought iron was way too expensive. That's an aluminum picket fence that will simulate what the current portion of the wrought iron fence looks like. So there's currently a wrought iron on the south side of the pond that the Friends, I believe, paid
I think
to
that's
have
right. The
installed.
Friends put
Right,
it in.
so, but it doesn't go around the entire pond. So what's going around the rest of the pond is chicken wire and chain link, which is ineffective. So when I priced out an alternative, it was to put an aluminum facsimile of the wrought iron fence.
That
So
was 18,000.
is the discussion that we're having about replacing the temporary fence with a permanent fence, or are we talking about just
Just
removing?
removing the fence. There's
So-
no
yeah.
ponds that I've ever seen that actually have fences around them, and there are people who are concerned about the ducks. If anybody's familiar with the pond, the ducks stay on the south end and Little Island. They're not on the north side anyway.
Right.
And the Phragmites, when it's grown fully, and it grows back quickly because it just got trimmed down, blocks entrance into the pond as is.
And the Phragmites, have they been removed?
They were trimmed maybe a couple of weeks ago, and they're already getting pretty highly
Well,
supported
there,
and high water.
we engaged the Pond Lake Connection to remove them chemically in the fall.
Okay, so that will start in the fall, yeah, because
Yes,
we,
right down there.
right.
What does our insurer say?
The insurer says that as long as there's proper signage in place warning people that the pond is not for swimming, for people or dogs, we're covered.
And we got the sign to say no dogs, no swimming, no fishing, stay away.
My suggestion,
Yeah, if I may, because I heard from an old longtime user of the park who said that this decision came up years ago, and the decision was made to keep some sort of fence around the pond for some of the reasons that Lawrence discussed, that people were concerned that there would be dogs in the pond. It's a little different with children. There are children running around on the grass in perhaps with greater freedom than they're running around on the beach where their parents may be watching them more closely. So there were concerns about dogs, I was told. There were concerns about children. I was also told that there are algal blooms in the pond, and there are times when the pond water is actually toxic. And then when the algal blooms are treated, the algal blooms are treated with toxics. So first you have toxic algae, and then you have toxic chemicals applied to eliminate the algae. I assume there are toxics applied to the Phragmites.
So there are signs
well.
when they do the treatments that they place around the pond to notify people that has happened, and they take them down when the treatment is done.
Right.
But that will only affect people who actually jump in and start swimming. That doesn't affect anybody who's walking by.
Something, because I've been listening to these conversations almost longer than Lawrence. The way and I know you're in a different position, Mayor Cohn, the way I've sort of been approaching it and talking about it with community members is it's almost every municipality around Westchester has a center, a village green, if you will, or some kind of small park in which there is a pond. And typically, because no one puts any fencing around it and the signage is up and it's perfectly fine, I am a firm believer, being a dog walker, that we really have to hold our dog walkers accountable, and we need to police ourselves and police each other. And I bought my Rytown Park pass today. I'm going to post it on Facebook. I think we need to hold people accountable. The dogs that are going to go in the water go in, whether the fence is there or not. We know that about Lawrence. I love that solution about the ice. I thought that was fabulous. Otherwise, kids aren't going to go in that pond. You can't even get to it. There's so much growth. It really is just kind of a wetland kind of thing. So I don't think it's a liability issue, but I just wanted to add that. And I only brought it up because change gets people talking, so I wanted to have the correct answers. It wasn't like I wanted to create a controversy, but I felt we needed to be transparent. I completely agree with the idea of taking the fence down. I just wanted to make sure it was out there for the community.
I can't believe we're talking about this for so long, but I just want to add one more thing to this, is that I have it on good authority. I don't know where you got your information, but from what I understand, but the reason that temporary fence was put up, it was put up when the pond was first restored, and it was to protect the plantings that they put in there, and it just never went away. That was the only reason for it, and I can't agree with Jamie more, whereas that you go far and wide. Where there's public parks with ponds, with lakes, ponds, small bodies of water. So there's no fences around them. Just there aren't. You can just walk right up to the edge. So I don't see that. As to Lawrence's point, it's ugly, and to my point is that it was put up there. It was initially installed as a temporary protection for the plantings that they did when they first restored the pond, and it just never went away.
Is the goal of the Phragmite removal to totally get rid of them? Because it almost seems like a natural barrier, which maybe,
I personally liked it, but I guess we want to get rid of it.
yeah, no, I mean,
It's an invasive species.
yeah.
There are many other plants that will take its place. I mean, but I'd say the goal may.
Bill?
The goal, even assuming that we actually wanted it, of removing all the Phragmites is not really gonna happen in our lifetime. I mean, it's just so much of it. I love walking my dog down by the cemeteries where there's the walk that goes from the
Yeah.
18th century cemetery to the 17th century, surrounded by Phragmites. All that area over by
Yep.
Playland Parkway, Phragmites galore. And I'm not saying that we should just tolerate them, but I think the fact is that they have become part of what goes on in Westchester County. And we had that big session in January. I think all of you were there for that, when this guy came in from the Pond Lake Connection, talked about what they do, and to call it that last resort is to use the chemical, which is cuprin, which is a type of a copper, which is the least risky for the environment, and everything that we do there is completely approved by the DEC. So, I mean, if people say to you, it's to kill off, that we have this, the idea is to get rid of the algae, but not in ways that are going to compromise the life of the pond as a living organism. And we've actually been talking about the idea of using the pond for nature education activities in the community, and it's a great facility for that. That's why we got the grant in the first place for the $450,000, was to make it into an environmental sponge, where water comes in right off of Forest Avenue from everybody's yards and goes right into the pond, and then the pond absorbs this, grows things, and so that's a functioning ecosystem.
Right. May I interject? There seems to be some concern for safety, but most of the speakers have not been in favor of that argument, that it is not a safety issue. And several of you have pointed out that most parks around the county do not have fences. We do at least have a partial fence. I would like to suggest that we do remove the fence, but along with that, we increase the signage, which is what our insurance carrier has suggested is sufficient, and Lawrence has said, well, you really can't see the sign.
We already have we purchased signs to put around the pond, and we had one, I don't know where it
Are
came
they-
from. So we have new signs.
We
that
have,
post
we
to
do
one.
have new signs.
Yep, we
Okay,
want
and they're visible signs?
They're big and bright, and we will place them where you can see them.
Okay. They're not installed yet?
No, we have.
Okay.
They weren't going to be installed until we remove the fence. And like I said, we will keep the fence on site and in storage. If you wanted us to put it back up in the winter for safety, we're happy to do
Right.
that. But
I think that is, my view is that is a proper solution. Increase the signage, take down the fence, and let's see what happens.
Can I just ask one more question? So what was the $18,000 for? Is that for a fence that we're not gonna, I mean,
we can save money on by not having to complete the
Yeah.
entire.
The proposal was a fence like you would see at a schoolyard or in front.
but we're
of
not
a front
talking
yard.
about that, so
No.
there's no expenditure here.
No.
No.
Okay,
No, it's a saving.
got it.
No, it's right. We're not
Our
spending
staff will take
any
the
money
fence down.
except on the sign.
Bill Lawyer, will you do a series on turtles, please?
I've done actually I just mentioned something about the turtles. This is the time of the year that they lay the eggs, and so you see them.
They're walking around a lot.
Yeah, they're coming up from the pond, mainly going over to where the overflow parking area is, but right to the edge of the stone wall. I've seen them as far as the southwest section of the park. They're all over the place.
What kind of turtles are they?
24, right?
And they dig their holes, yeah. I put them back in.
I'm not putting that in minutes.
What kind of turtles are they?
Well, there are various kinds, and probably none of them are native, but my theory is how did those turtles get there? Somebody must have brought them there. Obviously, it's not like a stream flows in with turtles. And the ones you would normally see would be, the painted turtles, what else? I can't think of, but in other words, there are several that would be likely to be native to this area, but the fact is that they were brought in there. And I think, as I recall, the same was true with fish. When the pond was first restored, they did stock it with fish. And I have not seen anything lately of any signs of fish being out there, but it's something else that could be introduced. And the last thing is that these are the ducks that people may be concerned about. We had a big issue with people putting in domestic ducks, that can't fly. And we thought this is creating all these problems because then, that would be one of the arguments why you need the fences, so that the raccoons and whatever can't get in and kill the duck eggs. So all the ducks that are there now are mallards. We do get some birds flying in and out, like great blue herons and things like that. But it's not an issue as far as the mallards are concerned.
All right. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
So I think the consensus is that unless there's a strenuous objection, that we will remove the fence, we will put the new signage up, and we will see how that goes for the rest of the season, and if we need to look at it again, we'll look at it again, right? Okay. All right, we need to quickly, I just want to let everybody know, we're losing 2 members of the commission at 7 o'clock. We will then no longer have a quorum, and we need to take some
Real
votes.
quick, just want to acknowledge the fact that in the last meeting, I was concerned about the maintenance of the sand on the North Beach, and I want to acknowledge that they took great steps, and they brought in bulldozers and stuff like that, but I just want to know, now that you've done that I've been at that for over a week, how we've been able to successfully rake the north end. Just a few days before we're going to promote a sandcastle building contest for kids. Are we raking the beach? That was my concern. Thank you.
The answer is yes. The north section, close to the plant, is still fairly soft, and they could actually probably have removed more. Sal was hoping that a day like this, with the heavy rain, could really flatten it out, but yeah, they haven't had any real issues, and they should be able to rake it normally as they have been in years past.
But have they started raking it yet?
He was waiting for the rain he did the part, and he
So
felt he
maybe
was gonna get stuck.
Maybe tomorrow.
He believes after this heavy rain, yes. So tomorrow, if it rained as much as he wanted to flatten it out, yes, he did feel the north was still possibly he could get stuck, past the way like where the barbecue grills are. But the south half of it was firm, and he raked it up. But he needed that north side to get a little bit firmer. So by tonight, we should be okay.
Thank you. Moving on to the resolutions, I realize that the gentleman from the paddle sports program, I guess from Hudson River Recreation, is here, but I want to skip over that temporarily and move on to the other resolutions, which I hope we can handle quickly. As I said, we are losing 2 of our members by 7 o'clock. Resolution to implement a Rye Town Park policy regarding facility rentals by established religious organizations. We discussed this at the last meeting. The resolution has been redrafted to take into account any concerns. Mayor Cohn mentioned to me earlier that he would like an additional change in the last whereas paragraph, which shall mean any religious organization which has qualified under and defined in. Is that correct, Mayor?
Yep.
Okay. Please make that change, and with that change, may I have a motion and a second? Please,
So move.
second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
When I was here, I think in April, there was concern about the need to be respectful of any services going on. And I think there was a debate that, folks, this is a public park. You're welcome to do whatever you want, but people don't have to stop playing with their dog. How was that resolved? Because I don't see anything in here about
Well,
that.
it's been resolved in that we have blackout dates on busy holidays. It's not allowed. And I personally actually was at a religious service last Friday night, and it went off very beautifully.
Oh, that's
Beautiful
great.
service. There was no problem. People were playing volleyball on the beach, and the service went off beautifully, and it was a beautiful day. Right, Lawrence?
I think what Commissioner Farrar was asking was, there was a question that if they're going to have one of the pavilions, do they need both of the pavilions? That was the question. And I think we did discuss
I think as it applies,
Right.
I don't think it's appropriate to take the other.
the other, right, we agreed on that. Right,
And it didn't, the way that service occurred, I can't imagine that it would have been.
right. That was the,
No,
Back and
no,
forth was
it
that they
worked
were
out
too
really
close
beautifully,
together.
and people were all over the
I think
park,
it was
and
a noisy party
some
or
people,
something.
stopped to look in, and it just went off really beautifully. So, with that, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn?
Yes.
Commissioner Ferrara?
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro?
Yes.
President Zuckerman?
Yes. Resolution 5-3, authorizing a grant application to the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. This is under the CFA that we need to approve before the grant goes in. Debbie, just very briefly, what is this one about, please?
So, we have two resolutions. I'll tell you about both at the same time. These are, the first one is specifically a historic preservation grant. We are applying for funds to restore the exterior envelope of the bathhouse. As you know, we currently are going through the administration process of getting a significant grant that was an earmark from the New York State Assembly, arranged by Assemblyman Otis, to replace the roof on the bathhouse, which is absolutely essential. We expect that's going to come through in the fall, and we'll do the work as soon as we get the funds, put that into action. What then comes is preserving the exterior envelope, the stucco that goes around the building. So this is a grant application to help us preserve the stucco that is falling apart as well. And the second resolution is for a grant application. We are reapplying for the ramps from the promenade to the beach level at the south end and the middle end. We are also applying for, the funds will be applied to making the bathrooms ADA accessible and moving our permit and park director's office into the bathhouse so that the public can, public of all abilities can gain access to that building and to the park officials that they need to reach and the facilities that they need to use.
Is this the CFA funding?
CFA.
This is the CFA.
Okay.
Yes.
And this doesn't require, say, the city of Rye to have any special qualification or be part of any particular program.
It does not. This is a 50-50 match grant, and so if awarded, the Park Commission will be matching those funds. And of course, the city of Rye is a part of the commission.
I seem to remember that.
Yeah, if we get it. So on resolution 18-36, oh, that's the not, right, 18-34.
37.
I'm going down
37 and
here,
39.
18-37, authorizing grant application to conserve the historic bathhouse. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved?
Second?
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn?
Yes.
Commissioner Ferreira?
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro?
Yes.
President Zuckerman?
Yes. And the second resolution that Debbie referred to, 18-39, authorizing a grant application for ADA compliant beach ramps, gates, parking, et cetera. May I have a motion and a second for that?
So moved?
Second?
And a question on that?
Yes, sir?
Do you know how long it'll take before we know what's happening with this particular grant? Only because our budget cycle and the ramps,
We'll know in December.
so before
It'll
our
be late, it'll be
budget
late
process?
December. Yeah.
Thank you.
Another question. We applied for CDBA grants, CDBG grants, for similar purposes. Can we aggregate grants, or do any of these grants have a grant exclusivity provision?
I'm not sure what you mean about aggregate. However, the fact that if we get CDBG grant, that comes from HUD, and that could serve as our match.
That was
Aggregation,
my
yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Okay,
It could-
thank you.
Because the CFA is from New York State funds, so we have to match with non-New York State funds. They don't care where we get the money, and they're perfectly happy if we get it from HUD, and vice versa.
But it's important that in the resolution, we're agreeing that if we get this, we will match it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes, and the resolution specifically pertains to that.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Call
We
the
need
roll.
a second?
I think we had a second, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I seconded it.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hurd?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn?
Yes.
Commissioner Ferrera?
Yes?
Commissioner Salanitro?
Yes.
President Zuckerman?
Yes, thank you. Now, moving back to resolution authorizing the establishment of a paddle sports program at Rytown Park for the remainder of the season. And I think we have a presentation. Am I correct or not?
I can speak to it. I don't have a presentation or a PowerPoint
Well,
prepared.
tell us about it. Introduce yourself.
Please.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to propose a paddle sports program at Rytown Beach. I appreciate your time. My name is John Clark. I'm the owner and manager of Hudson River Recreation. We're a long-established company. I'm the third owner in succession. This is my 9th season as owner, probably my 16th involved in the company. We run typically on the Hudson, both on the Hudson River and tributaries and nearby bodies of water. We have operated on the Sound in the past, both for pull-in programs temporarily and for more staffed programs. We largely offer kayaks. We also offer canoes, paddle boards, surf skis, and outriggers in a much more limited way. We are largely kayaks. I use the broader term paddle sports because it's all encompassing. The program lineup that we offer is typically rentals, lessons, and tours, group and private events, regularly scheduled and by appointment as well. So in terms of the proposed program at Rytown Beach, Rytown Park, I would see it as an excellent site for rentals to service in large part visitors that are already there, but also to bring in additional folks from the outside. The guided tour programs, the instructional programs, the private programs certainly would serve residents. We do draw from the Sound Shore communities. But it would likely be folks that would be visiting specifically for that program. They may stay, they may be visitors before or after. But that is kind of the nuts and bolts version of what I see happening. I think that the Sound is an underutilized resource. I think that Rytown Beach in particular is a great place. You have a wonderful facility. With clearly dedicated and devoted staff and residents. And I think that we could be very successful there in a collaborative relationship.
Thank you. Just to point out that the fee is a licensing fee of $1,000 or a percentage of the gross and on a sliding scale. This is, I think, just another in our effort to increase usage of the beach and the Sound, the water around the beach, for the residents and visitors, and to make Rytown Park and Rytown Beach a destination for activities.
Frank?
Yeah, Mr. President, if I may ask a question of Mr. Clark?
Absolutely.
Mr. Clark, welcome. Based on your experience throughout the region, any idea what you would expect Rytown Park to generate in terms of revenues? Just out of curiosity, and I realize, we may have a population that has no interest, or it may be through the roof. You can't tell that ahead of time.
So I've typically found that it takes 3 seasons to really reach stride. And that would be really the only point that I don't want to leave without talking about, but I'll answer your question first.
Sure.
I would anticipate that we would probably get to a place where we could be between the $75,000 and $125,000 in gross revenue.
Wow, that's impressive.
That is contingent upon the ability to support the program in the sense that boats are big, bulky, they require space, they require staff. Some of that's me, obviously, and some of that involves, kind of agreements with the commission and working with the park staff itself. So there is some constraints. So basically, the more I run, the more I can generate. The more equipment that I have on site, the more often it sees the water, the higher the revenues. So if I'm space limited, I'll have a smaller fleet. If I'm restricted in what I can offer or hours or seasons, I may not be able to take full advantage. But I think within the scope of what I've described, that revenue range is certainly attainable within a few seasons. And depending on the reception of the community and the current beach customers, because those folks are already there. Your Rytown Beach residents and permit holders and guests, they're already there. If there is interest in those folks, I could see it moving faster.
Right.
If it's largely reliant on me building the momentum and drawing people in, it will take more time.
My other question, you're required on March 1st of every year to file a verified income report. I didn't see anywhere in there where you would have to just give casual running totals. Would you have objection to doing that during the year? The first of every month, giving the running total for the season, in season?
I don't have any objections to doing anything as long as it's kind of understood that we are a small business.
Yeah.
And logistics fall
Of
to
course.
a small number of people.
I
So
only mention it because in this day and age of QuickBooks, you press a button and out it comes. Yeah.
I'm open to all
Yeah.
good ideas. I'm open to, fully negotiating how it works best for all parties
Only
involved.
to help us plan in terms of anticipated income for the budget year ahead, that's all. Because I see that you've got to provide the verified income statement March 1st for the previous season. The payment is due the following August 1st. It just may help us in our anticipation, if that's of any interest to the commission.
Definitely.
Thank you, Mr. Clark, and thank you, Mr. President.
What are the hours of operation and the season that you guys would operate under?
So peak season is gonna be Memorial Day to Labor Day. That is when we're full steam up and running. Anything that we can get on the water, that's when it really happens. To maximize the paddling season and to really make it as good as it can be, we aim to start as early as we can, which is typically on or around May 1st, with a limited staffed program, given water temperature and more unpredictable weather.
Yeah.
And then what we usually see is that those nice weekends after Labor Day, there's usually a few of them most years, they run full board like a summer weekend. And as soon as the fall descends, that's when really that peak is over. And we do the same thing on the tail end of the season. Run as much as we can, given decent conditions and water temps. It is warmer in the fall, and make the most out of it. Those are largely staffed programs as well. The rentals are the unstaffed programs I'm referencing. Those typically fall between the Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Is your market the folks that are already on the beach and at the park, or do you have an influx of folks coming, just an interest in your program?
We have existing customers that I think would be a draw. I think that the current beach patrons are also an audience. I think they would most be attracted to the on-site rentals. The walk-up, no reservations, no commitments. It's a nice day. I have a friend here visiting. Let's go take a paddle around for an hour. I see that as something someone already visiting the beach would want to take advantage of. I see our guided tours where we go out for 2 or 3 hours. Maybe it's a sunset trip, or maybe it's an all-day affair. Maybe it's just a family looking to get out on the water safely with supervision. I see that coming from outside the current beach visitors in large part.
Do they understand that they have a fee to pay to park, or, because I don't see any agreement on fees on parking?
I thought there was a fee.
There is? Did I miss that?
It's,
What is
page
it?
18 of 51. They'll be charged to,
Well, for this season, we've set it at $12, so.
Right.
Oh, 18, I didn't get to that.
12, right.
Yeah, that was in their agreement, but in the resolution.
In the resolution,
I
it says
believe
12.
it's 12 per,
Oh, it's not in the agreement. I was reading the
with
agreement.
an advanced reservation, that they're also paying for the rentals, and we're getting a piece of that. It's $12.
Oh, I see.
Our clients are used to paying parking. That's something that's fairly common across all of our sites. It's not always the case, but it isn't something that people shy away from. One of the reservations with the beach and parking prices that I had was the process, more so than the amount, in the sense that our clients theoretically are gonna have to stop to park, and then to enter the beach, and then to check in with us. So it was really more of my goal would be to streamline it, have a dollar amount that's not gonna be a barrier to drawing customers in, and also not have it be a logistical challenge for the park staff that are doing that parking and beach fee collection, or us who are trying to get people to us.
You might not have heard about the parking subcommittee that's going to streamline all of these things.
We did?
There are no details yet, but there will be soon, right, Benny?
Yes.
Benny asked the questions that have been interesting me, operating hours from noon to 6. I mean, my concern is that City of Rye residents are not probably the regular beachgoers as much as non-residents or other users. And I was imagining, like, yeah, like you mentioned, a sunset kind of operation or a sunrise kind of thing being really intriguing to Rye residents. I don't know, but it sounds like you'd be willing to customize some kind of program for that.
Yeah, I think that if I was gonna look at a normal weekend, so if I'm snapshotting ahead, the equipment's there, we're all set up, all the details are ironed out, and it's what are we gonna do this weekend? What I would probably anticipate is Thursday evening and Friday evening, we have a sunset trip, paddleboarding and kayaking. Reservation based, done in advance. And then Saturday we open, we have a morning trip, maybe 10 to 12 or 9 to 12, kayaking and paddleboarding also, and also offer some instructional lessons there before the heat of the day starts. At that noon hour, staff transition to rentals. That's when typically people are on the beach. The rentals are really a volume game, and they really are oftentimes geared for folks that are there. It's an impulse. They're not gonna plan their weekend around a $20 kayak rental.
Right.
They might plan their day around a $79 or an $89 sunset kayak tour or a kayak lesson, to support a swim later in the summer because they're gonna be a safety swimmer. Doing that on Saturday, doing that on Sunday, maybe having a fireworks trip if there's fireworks. Over on the Hudson, it's usually around 4th of July. Over on the Sound, I don't know, I think every weekend is a 4th of July. So that would be kind of like a little bit of a snapshot of a normal weekend. I just described what this past one was, what next one will be. We kind of try to tailor what we offer where based on what we figure out makes sense in that site. We have some sites that are largely just rentals. Some sites that are largely just instructional programs and private programs. Our pricing is aligned so that a small group, about a family-sized people of 4, is able to go out at the same rate per person as you would if you were coming out on a public trip as an individual. Kind of custom tailoring, making it a little bit more of a personal experience. So it's able to reach a lot of people in a way that they're happy with.
Debbie, how many proposals did we receive from the RFP that we sent out?
We reached out to about 8.
How many did we receive written proposals?
At this level, only from John.
If I may, this sounds like a really great idea. I think it will really enhance use of the beach. It is, from an economic perspective, an experiment for you and an experiment for us. And so I'm just looking for an understanding that as we go forward, we all look at the economic terms together and make sure that year to year everybody's doing as well as they should be. From a legal perspective, I noticed that in our cluster of documents, there's a release of Hudson River Recreation that customers sign. I'm wondering if there should be a release of the Rytown Park Commission.
We'll certainly tailor. We have releases. We have waivers that have gotten through legal, have gotten through our insurance, and we'll adjust.
Okay, and we're going to get an indemnity from Hudson River Recreation,
Absolutely.
I assume, and will be named insured.
Standard operating procedure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just speaking of legal documents, 33 is the agreement, a draft agreement. I just noticed in the preamble, the agreement between the Rye Town Park Commission, the City of Rye, the Town of Rye, and the Town Beach of Rye. It really just should be between the commission. The City of Rye should be struck, I think.
This is not the final agreement. This
Okay.
is authorizing Gary to sign an agreement. This is the template submitted by.
Okay,
By John.
just wanted to make sure
This
that's.
is just a template, and we'll
Got it.
have to draft the final.
I did it, go ahead. I have a couple of questions.
No, it's okay.
Just the storage unit, I see on the exhibit B1 where you have it located, there's a bunch of stuff there. Is that gonna be removed and cleared for his shed, or is the shed gonna be, those look like some parking spaces?
So the area you see is usually contains all of our barrels, the garbage barrels, which are out obviously in the park. Nobody parks there because that's where our maintenance usually uses storage. The bins you see in the picture are the roof tiles, which are there for I don't know how long they're going to be there. But that's not current parking because our maintenance uses that as storage and their work area. So by the time he is gone, it really won't affect our operation because the barrel's already on the beach and then they'll be put back when he's gone. So
Okay.
it's not, it looks like parking spots, we don't currently use it for parking. We just use it either for the pickup trucks and for our workstation for our maintenance staff. So that's why we put it there, so it wouldn't affect any parking whatsoever.
Okay.
Lawrence, does I should know the answer to this, and I apologize, I don't. Does the health department regulate the beach? I know they test the water, they regulate the beach. Does this in any way change the operation of the beach by adding another amenity to it? From the health department standard?
What we,
Lifeguards, all
the
that kind of stuff?
DOH, when they inspected us recently, requested that we move in our swim line from off the rock into shore,
Right.
which we have done. And for those of you familiar with the beach, we already had the last few yards of the south end as a no swim zone.
Right.
So all we did, this actually helped us comply with DOH. We moved in the swim line. It's now on the sand, and there's a few yards where he'll actually be able to launch his kayaks, not interfering with the swimmers whatsoever.
Well, actually, you may know the answer to the question as well. Is this activity on open waters regulated by the Department of Health in any way? There's no influence on our permit to operate?
Or no, it doesn't affect our swim lines, doesn't affect any of our beachgoers or lifeguards. You know, they have their own section, and they
Okay.
leave the water.
And you have lifeguards as well? Or you have staff members that are trained to,
Yeah, our programs
Rescue.
are all life jacketed. So we don't carry lifeguards. That's not a function of our insurance requirements. We use life jackets, PFDs. They have to be worn at all times. We don't involve swimming in any of our programs, so we don't lifeguard because we don't swim. People fall out, but they have their life jacket on.
One quick question. Mr. Clark,
you have to come to the mic, sorry. We should have an audience mic, actually.
Mr. Clark, thank you for all this. My question is, you talk about having a customer base and return customers and programs and stuff. Will people be permitted to bring their own watercraft, or is it going to be exclusive use of your watercraft? So can somebody come down and launch their own kayak with this program, within your program?
That's a good question. Our customers are in large part beginners and first timers. That's our audience. That's who we serve. Those folks don't have their own boats. We typically bring people to the point where they may want to buy their own boat, or we service the people that get the experience and don't want to have to or can't carry or store their own boat. So the simple answer is no, we would only use ours. It's usually just logistically better for us. We've found that people's interpretations of what an appropriate kayak is for what we offer isn't necessarily the same as ours. Our investment in equipment is significant, and we are going to be using equipment that's appropriate for the conditions, which is expensive and not the kind of stuff that someone's going to buy at Dick's.
It raises an interesting question, though. Does the park allow people to bring their own boats and put in on the beach?
Not as a rule,
No.
no.
Okay. With that,
I have more questions, I'm sorry. I'm not in tune with this whole
so
thing.
you're not going to leave it, Senator?
This is important, I'll leave
Oh,
late.
okay.
I think along with Mayor Cohn was saying, this is a relatively long-term agreement, 2023. We have no basis of understanding its success or failures or problems. Is it revocable by both parties or singular?
This is not going to be long-term, this is for this season,
It's
and then
20
we'll figure out after
2023.
this, well, but as I said, that agreement is a template
That
that's been
template
used by
was,
other governments.
Can we look at the agreement before we vote on it, honestly? Because I also have a problem with the resolution stating that we solicited and received proposals, but we only received one. I just want to make sure that we've done our due diligence and received and solicited properly, because it is a business, they're making money. It's the first I'm reading about it, there's a lot of details in here. I for one, it's a template, I think we should be voting on the actual document, not a template.
And I guess the question would be, how can we do this in a timely way?
In order, because we're in the middle of a summer season, can we authorize the president as supervisor to sign a temporary agreement with the understanding that we want to enter in good faith into something longer term?
this agreement is going to be only for this year.
The resolution is only for this year. The agreement is confusing.
Well, the agreement,
I can
excuse me,
speak to that.
Mr. Clark. The agreement does not exist.
Well, whatever draft you gave us in our
That is a
packet.
draft template. What I would do is modify that agreement, and we would send it to the commission for review, and you would comment on it, And if there's a big problem, then I wouldn't sign the agreement. But we're not going to have a meeting to pass a resolution to sign the actual agreement until August, and the season will be over on Labor Day.
Well, I was thinking that we might be comfortable approving a pilot program that goes through this year.
That's what we're doing. It's all going to be for this year.
Right.
Yeah. But then there are terms in there that we would have to modify.
But we could also do that after this season, after we've had a chance to evaluate it.
No agreement that we enter into now would survive the end of the season. We start fresh at the end of the season, having done this beta test.
Right. No, I'm totally on board. I just am saying that we don't need to rush through the agreement as long as we're doing the pilot until the end of the season, right? We can look at that in the fall.
Well,
We need an
to do
agreement in order so that we can
Right, a
license.
pilot agreement,
Right.
not the 5-year agreement.
No,
Correct.
that's correct, Emily.
Yes.
It would be a pilot agreement, and a temporary agreement, a agreement to the end of the year.
But not the one that we're looking at.
Not the one we're
There.
looking at, right, okay?
I think that the point of putting the one we're looking at was to get an idea of some of the major terms involved in this kind of enterprise.
Let's get my vote in.
Okay. We have two members who have to leave. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second it, sir.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Hurd,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohn,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro,
Abstain.
President Zuckerman.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have two members who have to leave, and we have completed the resolution part of the meeting. So, thank you.
Hasta la vista.
While you're walking out the door, since we're talking about the water, I just wanted to make a brief update on our open water swim program, which is going. It is officially under operation. We have 93 people signed up for open water swim so far.
Great.
And as we passed the resolution last time, that includes the beach fee, the parking fee, pardon me, the fee is $50, includes beach and parking from 6 to 8 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And the participants get a swim cap and a wristband, which I meant to wear, to tell you the truth, a wristband that says Rye-Town Park Open Water Swim Program. And we have also ordered additional buoys to go out into the sound along the breakwater for safety and guidance purposes. That's great. And it seems to be working very well so far. So I thought I'd bring everybody up to date on that. Okay. We have a restaurant report, and I see two gentlemen in the back of the room who may wish to tell us what is going on with the restaurant. Gentlemen? Let's see, three people.
Hi.
What?
Aldo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Aldo? I didn't know that you were here with them. Are you here with them? So we have our two of our three principals of the three guys and their attorney, Mr. Aldo Vitigliano, sitting in the back. So you guys don't need support.
For those of you who don't know us, my name's Chris Race. This is Bobby Harris. We're two members of 95 Dearborn LLC, currently doing business as the Barley Beach House. So we're here to give you guys just an update, status report on what's going on at the restaurant. So first off, we're open.
And having passed all
yes,
health
we
and
had-
building inspections. Okay.
We last week we had our inspections with the health inspector and the building department. We went through all our inspections. We passed everything for the upstairs and also for the downstairs. We have a full-fledged fire system now in the building with pole pull stations and strobes and horns and everything else needed to operate the building properly. We are currently running with a slimmed down menu right now. We're still waiting for some more restaurant equipment to come in and get the staff training up to where it needs to be until we have the full-fledged menu with the lobsters and the seafood. So if you guys come currently, bear with us. We're still working on a lot of things at the restaurant. So we're getting there day by day.
Chris, please talk into the mic.
Sorry. We are here also to ask for a couple things. Well, mention a couple things. We were hoping to maybe catch you guys before two members left. One thing is the basement. We are trying to get the concession stand open as soon as possible downstairs. Like I said before, we already passed the health inspection down there. We have to do another inspection there with all the equipment in place, which it is currently in place. And Carrie from the building department asked us to put together building plans for the basement, which is fine. I believe they should have been submitted today, but I have to follow up with the architect on that. So we're hoping that when they get submitted that we could move forward on that, get the rest of the inspections for the downstairs, remove the gates and open up the concessions for the public on the beach. Currently we're running a food truck in the front of the store, which is serving its purpose for beachgoers and the kids who want chicken fingers, French fries, you know, that quick food like hot dogs. And so we would like to get the concession stand open actually before we move the food truck, which brings us to our next
Ask.
question, or if we could ask.
Emily put it correctly.
In our lease, it
Ask.
states that we need to operate the north gate for 60 out of the 90 days that it's open. The north gate needs as much work as the inside of the restaurant needed when we took it over. To do it the right way, we need to FRP it, do the plumbing, you know, get the equipment in there, and it could take a lot of time for us to do that. So we were hoping that we could take the food truck and move it up to the north gate and use the inside of the north gate for more storage purposes, maybe ice cream, stuff like that, but still be able to serve the beach goers and the park goers, you know, the chicken fingers, the French fries, all that other stuff that we're serving now in front of the restaurant. So we're hoping to, once again, remove the gates, open the concession, potentially move the food truck up to the north gate to continue selling that food, in addition to a couple other items like ice cream and maybe like frozen lemonades and stuff up there.
All right, well, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's a good plan. Emily, you would know what the waiver contained, because I'm not familiar with it, the city of Rye gave them to operate the food truck initially. In other words,
Right.
does it say until the restaurant is open, or
Yes.
does it? It does.
It does. And my concern about the north gate is I do feel like that, so this has to be passed by the City of Rye City Council. We will be meeting on July 26th. And you would want this to be sooner than that.
So in the agreement, it said that when the restaurant was open, I think that was kind of, it should have been worded a little better, because we are open now, but the concession isn't, so we don't have anywhere to subsidize like the beach
Right,
food.
right. No, and I mean, and I don't think anybody's giving you any trouble for staying open, right?
No.
My concern about the north gate is just space. I don't know, I don't have sort of an aerial map in my head, but I was down on the path today, and I do feel like the truck is big and the gate and the path is sort of narrow. I'm just curious about where that would go and what it would look like. Because as it is now, I think that the food truck really is in the middle of a sort of a central
It is.
intersection.
If I may, there's actually it's much more convenient to have the truck on the grass either directly to the south or directly to the north of the north gate, because it'll be
grass
really
where?
off. Directly,
Where the sculpture is going. Yeah?
well, obviously it couldn't go where the sculpture's going.
Well, wait, I mean, when is the sculpture going there?
Sculpture's on the other side of the snack bar.
Where's grass on the south side?
But south and north.
If you're coming from the south to the north, you get to the showers, then the bathrooms, and also the office where they take, people pay to get in. And then is the snack bar.
Right.
The statue is, sculpture, as I understand, is in that grass area beyond
Right, I'm trying to understand which grassy area they're suggesting they would put the truck in, yeah.
So I think we were thinking there's a grass area where there's a couple picnic tables that is closer to the playland beach.
Right, that's where the sculpture's going, yeah.
When is that sculpture going?
I don't know.
Wait, let's not
The
talk.
really great thing about a
Susan,
truck is if
let's
it's
not-
in an inconvenient spot, we can move it.
But, I mean, and I don't have, I did think,
May
in the
I?
management report, they mentioned something about the sculpture, but when Bob Clyott was here a couple of months ago, it didn't seem like it was
I cannot conceive that that sculpture is going in before September 30th. You know, and my guess is that by September 30th, you're not going to need the north gate operating.
No, the
Right.
plan, sorry.
So you're talking essentially, you know, for a 2.5 month period at the most. And if the sculpture's not going in there, I'm sure that we can find some, you know, grassy area to put the
Well,
space.
I don't think it would be appropriate to put the food truck on the west side of the path in any location, right? And I don't know what other grassy areas there are anywhere along the east side of
I think
the
if we-
path.
If we could agree that we'll put it there, and like Debbie said, we can move it within 2 days' notice, we'd be happy to.
Well, right, the Rye City Council has to approve it, so I can take this back to them and see about timing and get in touch with Debbie, who can get in touch with you.
They can do a schematic of
Yeah.
exactly
Right.
I would suggest you talk to your architect, who probably has the ability to sketch in, where one or two locations that it might possibly go to, satisfy the requirements of the city.
Yeah, I do think the only location would be that spot, just because we would need running water and electricity, so we would have to come on that side of the path.
All right.
Unless there's no.
East side. As you're going north.
As you're going
Path
toward.
goes from
Yeah,
south
that's
to
exactly
north.
what I was thinking.
Do you have a,
And then,
You do.
sure. I mean, is this what you're talking about?
I wasn't even thinking of that. I was thinking on the other
Are
side.
those benches permanent? Are they fixed?
Pretty permanent.
I don't know if you can move, I don't know how a food truck would fit in there.
We can move a bench.
I think they're cemented in, right?
Yeah.
We were thinking the other side.
The other side, yeah. But I'm not worried about the timing of the sculpture. But I think if you could, a couple things. Figure out where it's gonna go and how it will attach or whatever, but give us a proposal of where it will go exactly and make sure that's gonna be the spot. That would be, in the meantime,
it has to go kind of right near the north gate concession, right?
Say close to it. with
yeah.
Yeah, so it has to be over there somewhere.
Yeah.
It can't be, right, I was mistaken in my thinking, because I think that, I was thinking more on the grass, but that would not be practical, because you wouldn't have, water and electricity services there, so it has to be kind of near the,
It can run on a generator, no?
You can run on a generator.
That's loud, right? Yeah. Yes, okay, I will get that
Yeah,
to
that look-
my city council colleagues.
that picture looks,
Right.
putting it right here, seems to,
That's the north gate, though. That's how people walk into the north gate right there. On the cement right there. I think it's hard to do this on this.
it's hard to do this
Yeah.
on here, we're talking from nothing here.
Um,
So I think you just need to get a schematic and.
And also a sense of timing. So you said that you need to redo the whole concession.
We'd like to do it the right way.
So if you can give us a sense of timing on that.
So I think our plan is our main focus is obviously on the
Right.
building. So we want to get the basement open, the concession open ASAP. Like literally, we can probably get it almost done this week.
Okay.
And open up this week. Once we get that open and operational, we want to move right over to the north gate. The north gate needs to be FRP'd, and like I said, with the plumbing and everything.
What does FRP mean?
It's like
a washable
it's a washable
surface.
surface for, they put it
Okay.
in commercial kitchens and stuff, so if the stuff spills on it, they can wipe it down. Where it's all plywood in there.
Great.
Well-
So you're thinking that you would do that work after the September? So you would need the food truck basically until the end of the season, say end of after Memorial Day week or Labor Day weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, until then.
I think we'll be working on the inside of the concession stand before then, but I don't know if we'll actually have it physically open with all the inspections and everything else that we have to do to get it open. It's
And as I just think about the generator comment, you're definitely getting closer to a row of house, like a neighborhood of homes.
We prefer not.
Yeah,
we don't
okay,
wanna go
great.
over
So
All
let-
right, we'll get back to that.
Also, we just wanted to make sure that that would satisfy the requirement of the.
Concession, right, yeah, I
Okay,
think so.
that's what I wanted to get to. Is your concern a concern that you want to simply provide the food service, or is your concern, and Aldo, you may want to answer this question, is that you are worried about being in violation of the terms of the lease, that you're open 60 of the 90?
Definitely both, yeah.
Well, personally, knowing what's happened, my personal view, and I can't say that's the view of the entire commission, especially since some of them are not here, but that's a provision that can be waived.
Right,
You know, I mean, we know that you've had a tough time. When that agreement was entered into, it was with the understanding that there wouldn't be some of the problems that have arisen. Those problems have arisen, you know, almost a force majeure, Aldo, in terms of that somewhat unforeseen. And I don't think that this commission, and again, speaking for myself, is going to hold you to penalize you because you haven't been open for 60 days during the summer in the North Concession. So if that's in your mind, I mean, we can discuss that. The other issue is that you simply want to provide service for the beachgoers who either are at, you know, are at the north end of the beach or are entering through the north gate. That's a separate issue.
Yeah, well, I think it would be good for us to get a gauge on how much food is gonna be sold down there, whether it's better to lean towards food to sell in the North Gate next year, drinks, coffee, ice cream, and we can kinda get an idea of that if we open up now.
That's all reasonable. Frank?
Listen, Portchester's very supportive of the chair and what you'd like to do. I haven't heard anything here that gives me any pause.
And with all due respect, and I don't mean to promote heresy here, but the North End hasn't even been open. Like, how can we hold these guys responsible, you know, and to your point, Gary, and you're
what I'm
absolutely
saying.
right. The public doesn't even have access to that part of the beach. How can we hold these guys? You know,
That's what I'm saying. I don't think.
A fan, a true fan.
it just doesn't make sense.
No, I don't think.
You said it a lot more eloquently than I did.
Thanks, Russ.
Yeah, I agree. And I just want to say, because I didn't say it before, as a member of the Rye Moms Facebook page and a reader of myrye.com, I thought it was Barley on the Beach, but Barley Beach House is getting rave reviews from staff to food selection and actual taste. People are commenting that you have real lettuce, not iceberg lettuce. This is something that people care about. And so I think, you know, what I've seen, and I haven't had a chance to be there yet, and I'm really excited about the pretzel. I've said that many times. It is great, so I hope that you guys can keep up the great work.
Emily, I agree. The pretzel is fantastic.
Oh, you've had it.
Yes, I've eaten there, 3 or 4 times now.
Oh, man.
The only suggestion I would make for the pretzel is to have more of a mustard sauce.
Wait, what do you, I like cheese.
We've been through the mustard conversation a lot. For some reason, we never went in, but.
No, people are really enthusiastic.
Thank you very much.
It's good to hear that we want to do a lot more. We just kind of run through all the phases right now. And like Bobby said too, with the North Gate, we're trying to make as many friends as we can right now. And to be able to sell the food up there now would be great for us too, just to get all the people that are in the park and all the events. It's closer to some of the events over there, so people don't have to walk all the way down. And if we have the concession open on the beach, I think everybody would be satisfied. And we could open up that North Gate properly when.
Right, so the North Gate, actually, we just discussed this before you guys got here. I think that is anticipated to open on next Friday, the 26th. Hopefully. So, I mean, are you trying to time it with an open gate, or do you not even care if the gate is open?
We don't care. We want to get our stuff up there, so if it gets open, we're ready to go.
Okay.
Because we have to, once it gets approved, we have to get the water to the truck.
Got it.
Out of the truck, so, and then we're gonna have to get it inspected again, by the health department once it moves. So the sooner we can get it there, the better off we are.
Okay, thank you. Emily, anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And good luck. Park management report? Lawrence, you want to say anything, or shall we just file a report?
You know,
Anything to add? We have the report is on file.
yeah, the report's on file. I would say that our staff has been, I mean, this report covers July 4th, which was a tour de force, in my estimation. I think that the head cashier, this was his first year. Our park director, this was his first year. They've been hearing about the 4th of July ever since they interviewed for these positions. And the staff managed to pull off 3 fireworks nights and major crowds with real grace and efficiency and professionalism. We had no major events that caused concern. They could pretty much handle everything. The only concern I heard was that we need to work on our traffic emptying plan for after fireworks on the 4th of July. And we've already put together an idea of the conversations that we will be having to put that into place. So my hat's off to the staff. I think that we made more in this short amount of time than we did in the entire season, and we're hopeful.
Wow.
As we'll start to hear from the financial report, we're doing really well.
Just one comment that I heard, a resident called me complaining about the leaf blowers in the park in the early morning causing dust storms.
I'm sensitive to that. However, blowing leaves while there are a lot of people in the park is also very awful. And so they got to clean up.
Yeah. I guess just, ask them to be sensitive to park goers in the early hours.
Okay.
I just wanted to say
No, it's us.
congratulations. Congratulations to Lawrence and the staff. I know that they've been working really, really hard, and I've been to the park many times and have partaken of the water in the park, and the staff has been doing an excellent job. Lawrence, you're to be congratulated, and Bill, you as well. We look forward to continued sunny weather, which is always a very big help. And, I think that putting the fear of God into Lawrence and the staff about July 4th was probably a good thing because they were prepared for it. So, thank you. And things are going to get better. As we get into our electronic parking situation, hopefully, more and more this year, and when the north gate is open and that's in full operation, and our laptops are operating fully throughout the park, that we'll have an easier time getting people in, which means we'll have an easier time getting people out. So, anyway, thank you. We have a financial report from Navy Jajanowick. I'm sorry, Navy. I always mispronounce your name.
That's fine. Good evening. Okay. So I'm going to present the financial statements as of June 30th, 2018. So the statement you have in front of you has 4 columns. The first column is the approved 2018 budget. The second column is the prorated budget for 2018, and the third column is the actual results through June 30th, 2018. So what we've done here is we've closed the books on an accrual basis, which means we've reconciled all of the accounts, we've accounted for every transaction through June 30th, 2018. And as you can see, what's happened is we've come in about $54,000 better than we thought we would in terms of revenue. And that's primarily because of the weather, and we had a very strong Memorial Day weekend. Yep. And that helped us tremendously because we had a delayed start to the season. We opened a little later, and so the offset to that, or what contributed, was that as you see all the negatives in that last column, so we saved money by having a delayed start. We saved about almost $27,000 in benefits, salaries, benefits, and taxes due to the delayed start. And then we also had less costs, obviously. So we had about almost $19,000 in operating costs that were delayed. Again, this will all catch up in timing. So what's going to happen in July, August, and some of it will even push into September. We'll incur these costs as we run the park and incur these costs. So we are at $133,000, almost $134,000 deficit for the first 6 months, which is $126,000 better than we thought we would be for the first 6 months. I think all of this will, because of the good weather, as to Debbie's point, July 4th weekend, and obviously we all know we've had excellent weather. I think July will be a very strong month. I don't know what August holds. I think so far we're trending to budget, if not better than budget. And then I'm not sure, obviously, what the rest of the year will bring. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the audit's done. We had one final documentary evidence that we were waiting for, and I think they got it on Friday. Yeah, and it wasn't, it was actually a report from the payroll provider that took some time to write because it had to be customized, and the payroll provider was struggling with some, I think it was a software issue on there, but I expect that the audit should be done hopefully by the next time we meet.
One would hope.
Sorry?
I said one would hope.
Yes, yes. So far it's been a clean audit. I don't think anything, any issues or any major adjustments or anything worth bringing to your attention.
Great.
All right, any questions?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Amy. And what did the, this report shows what kind of number for the restaurant? And
It wasn't open yet.
I know.
Yeah.
So we're expecting additional, I think the budget, the rental income in the budget is 58,000, correct?
Right.
So the pro rata budget and the actual budget show a 0. Right, so hopefully that will be better in the
Right.
next quarter.
So, right, so in July, and as of the open date, which I guess was the last couple of days, guys, right? Yeah, so we'll see that change.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That did just make me think about the food truck question at the North Gate. Because I don't know if we have we been using the food truck income towards our 6%?
Yes.
We have, okay, great, so that would continue for there, excellent.
Yeah, that's part of the restaurant.
I didn't know
Okay.
if it was calculated outside of the restaurant, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Navy. We'll see you at the right town meeting. That completes most of our meeting. We have a very brief personnel matter to discuss. I'd like a motion to adjourn to executive session. I know we have a short board, but Emily and Frank need to be brought up to date on something.
Sure.
This will only take 5 minutes. There will be no further business of the commission except to resume the public session and adjourn. So may I have a motion to adjourn to executive session for a few moments?
So move, sir.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We will be back. Jeff and Debbie, please.
Debbie, can I?